You can tell it's just going to be a crazy show tonight. So we're just going to do the best that we can. Probably just going to turn it over to our two guests and just let them go wild. But we'll get started back here in 20 seconds. All right, so we are waiting for Raj to get back in here. He's been having some technical difficulties, so we will get right into the heart of it. We'll give you a couple of our commenters who I don't know if all of these I'm supposed to post, but and I saw Kat. I think I might have accidentally erased one of yours. Kat said hello out there, and then Kat and Lady Alpha are out there talking. So we'll start with Air Raid. Have a fun show. Good to see you, Air Raid. Hope you're having a wonderful night. Hey, Mike out there. Hey, everyone. Hey, Mike and Mike. Which should be their own podcast, hint, hint, but that's a whole nother story. All right, we're waiting for Raj to get in here, so we'll get straight to the guests so they can pretty much carry the show, and I can probably, I don't know, take a bathroom break or go get me some hard liquor to survive the night. First up, and this is usually where I tell Raj what the person is coming on, so I guess I'll have to do both parts. Raj, guess what? Here's our first guest. When Kalen DeBoer came to Alabama, he actually had to get this man's permission before he was allowed to leave. If Seattle gets another basketball team, they've already told him he would be their first draft pick. This man vacations in Hawaii, drinks coffee by waterfalls, and has a stream in his backyard. Welcome on, Bo. Bo, sir, how are you doing tonight, man?
Doing great. How about you, my man?
Is the drinking coffee by waterfalls ever going to get old? Are you ever just going to throw something at us one time and go, all right, guys?
No, I mean, like, I can't even hate on it because I've done it. No, that 100% is why I was going to try and get that birthday wish in front of one of the waterfalls here. I just I didn't have the time to hike down to where it would have been a cool shot, and so you just had to deal with it being in front of a stream. So had to work. That being said, they'll be super disappointed if I am on that basketball team because I am not tall.
I think we'll just be so excited that we have the basketball team that I don't think we'll worry about that. At least for season 1 and 2. Season 3 will start to go, okay, this guy isn't that tall.
Right? Like he can shoot pretty good from the perimeter, but I feel like he's kind of old. And hi everybody in the chat. Good to see y'all.
Yep, you've already got the Bo. Yes, we are all jealous of Bo's photo. So Bo and yes, Bo's got the life. All right, so our second guest. When Zeke was going back to the Cowboys, he actually had to call and ask her permission if he was allowed back on the team before.
And she said yes.
We're gonna get her side of the story when she comes on here. Okay, she actually outran Xavier Worthy at the combine. They just didn't want to post it so he could still have the record. So, and she's been banned from Philadelphia for beating up Eagles fans in the offseason. Welcome to the stage, Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing tonight?
That's quite the introduction. I was going to say at first, I'm like, wow, Bo gets to be a potential NBA player. Like, how am I going to top this? But I think I did, being Xavier Worthy. So I think I maybe went out here on you, Bo. But
no doubt.
So, no, I'm excited to be here, excited to talk some football. It's been too long. I think it's been almost a year since we were last recapping, and we'll save it for when we get into it, but I'm definitely feeling a lot different this year as a Cowboys fan than I was last year, but it's still great to be here.
and there goes the other half. What's up, Raj? You good?
Yeah, sorry about that, man. Everything is like kind of slow on my end, so I'm hoping to make it through it, but I apologize for my tardiness.
Yeah, we won't forgive you. And there you go. The man that actually showed us Sarah for the first time, Air Raid Attack Podcast. So
shout out to Air Raid Mike.
Yes. Doing so. Yep. Shout out. Daniel saying what's up, and aka the Flash. Yes.
I'll take it.
So we mentioned this off air, so you know where we've got to start with any kind of NFL stuff. I'm sorry, Sarah, to put you on the spot, but we saw how last season ended for the Cowboys. Then you got the whole all-in mantra, and then it seemed like anything but. What is your feelings? You're already shaking your head like, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but that's
I feel
kind of
like
where.
that was the recap. We can just roll credits, call it.
I know. So I feel like this is such a weird year because obviously every year as a Cowboys fan, it's kind of the same old thing, right? Like playoff disappointment, but we have all the pieces there. Jerry Jones gets everyone hyped in the offseason. Then we come rolling in saying this is our year. And this is the first year, honestly, in my lifetime that I can remember. I don't think there's not even a piece of me that feels like this is our year. Like,
Oh,
it's sad. It's really
Oh,
sad.
my
People
God.
don't like it. Like people don't like me coming on and being the defeated, humble Cowboys fan because that is not
we
not how it
don't.
really is.
That's not entertaining. We want
No,
you to just
I'm
tell
gonna,
us you're going to
Right.
win
not
it.
even gonna lie to you guys. I was not even on my own podcast for the draft preview because I was like, I was really on vacation, but I was like, it's okay if I miss this because I didn't even want to talk about it. It pained me too much to discuss. But yeah, I mean, I think as far in terms of the draft, because I know we're going to talk about that. I went into the draft feeling down. I was like, I'm not really sure what's going to happen this year. We are clearly not all in, despite Jerry Jones' words, just with their offseason moves they have lack thereof, offseason moves they made leading up to this in free agency. But coming out of the draft, they actually made out probably as good as they could have hoped. I think they really went into this needing to repair the line, both offensive and defensive. Losing, all pro Tyron Smith left tackle. They lost their center to the Commanders. He left with Dan Quinn, who also took a huge ton of pieces from their defense and their defensive line. So they really need to build there. I think 5 out of their 8 draft picks were either offensive or defensive linemen. So that tells you how big the need was for that there.
Right.
Shocker coming out of it was they did not draft a running back, which is crazy because it's such a swing for them, obviously, of years of putting their money into Zeke. They maybe actually finally learned their lesson that they were overvaluing running backs. But, it's kind of ironic because this year there's probably a need for it,
Right.
But I guess we kind of saw the writing on the wall coming into the draft. There was potential talks like, would Zeke come back to Dallas if they couldn't fit the need? And here we are. I allowed him to come back.
How did that conversation go?
It was for morale.
How do you?
I'm going to tell you, it's a
how do
morale
you-
boost.
And how do you feel about him coming back? Are you excited, nervous, or how exactly do you feel about his return?
Bo was having a good time over there. He's like, oh,
I know. He's enjoying my
Bo is
opinion. Everyone's loving the Cowboy opinion.
It's
I get it. I know.
It's funny you bring him back because you were already going to pay him a lot of money either way.
Exactly at this point. So no, I think at this point I always liked Zeke. I think he was core for player for the locker room. He blocks well for Dak. Like he's a solid running back, experience. I think a good guy to have in the locker room. His personal skill level, I'm not expecting him to come out here and be even a shell of, what he previously was. But at this point, all I'm really going for is he's the morale. He's the guy in the locker room. And I feel like they kind of need that at this point because, they have Dak, obviously, who's been a long-time leader there. But I feel like it's just a little spark they need to kind of help, things be a little bit more cohesive on that end. And like I said, they could use him blocking with all these, potential gaps in the line that they still have. And he's solid, obviously, being with Dak for many years. They work well together in that. So am I expecting big numbers from him? No, at all. But also, what was the alternative from here? Really, I've been hearing the past few days that they might go for Najee Harris. Which would you take, Zeke or Najee Harris? I probably maybe Najee just because he has a little bit less on him is what I'm thinking. But it's not a big jump, I don't think.
So
hey,
Najee
wait! You
has
cannot come on an Alabama podcast and tell me anything bad about Najee. You better pick any other running back. We don't even care who's
Okay, I'm asking the wrong crowd, this apparently.
So
I would go after Najee. I think he has less wear and tear, and he could catch, he could pass. As far as him blocking as good as Zeke, I think it's the same. So I would definitely go after Najee if that is a possibility.
They can't.
I just don't know how much you'd have to pay him. So
well, no, it doesn't matter. They really can't because you got to remember before they even went into the draft, they were at such a ridiculous cap deficit that. As it sits today, I actually don't know if they have enough cap space to sign the people they drafted. So realistically, it's one of the reasons why I laughed so much when Jerry Jones was like, we're going all in. It's like, did you look at the books? Because I feel like that's not a real thing. So, I mean, I get the pessimistic look only because, you came into this draft 20 million over the cap.
Right. With only pending, big CeeDee Lamb, is upcut. Yeah. We haven't even taken care of a lot of huge guys who I'm sure they hope to keep around from there. So it's grim.
Micah Parsons got paid though, right? Micah got his money.
They extended the they did extend the 5th-year option on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, realistically, from an outside look, not hating on your team.
It's okay.
Time you have to make that disclaimer. He's
I
about
think
to hit
everyone
me.
is hating on him. I appreciate being nice, but it's okay.
This isn't the not to sound racist, and then I'm going to say the most racist thing ever. that is not the thing. No, this is so. This everything they're doing coming into this season makes it look like they're blowing this thing up at the end of the year.
Right.
Like everything they're doing coming in, and this isn't like a bag on the team kind of thing. Like literally, when you look at the finances of what it is they're doing, it sure looks like they have all the plans of just burning this thing to the ground at the end, even to the point of your head coach. Like all the contracts come up, everybody you need to pay, how close and over the cap you already are.
Right.
This really looks like a team that last year was your best shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, so, I agree. I think we're unfortunately past the window with the weapons. I think they're setting Mike McCarthy up for absolute failure in this. I mean, obviously we know he's done after this year, contractually speaking, and they're not putting him in a position for success. So it's kind of an easy boot out the door. Where they go from there, I don't know. And I'm still, jury's out on Mike McCarthy for me, honestly. It was a love-hate relationship. Hate in the beginning, kind of warmed up to him, but the way the last year ended, there's no love there at all. Like, I'm happy to see him go. I don't think he can get it done. I mean, Dak, I've been the biggest Dak supporter since the very beginning, and it's been very hard for me this past year to kind of start to realize that he is probably not going to be the face of this franchise much longer. And it's hard when someone is a great player to watch. He's an incredible leader for the team, and obviously seemingly a very good guy on and off the field, although I know there was some stuff this year that was maybe a little bit questionable, but I don't think anything came of that. But yeah, it's a weird. It's an end of an era sort of thing that you can feel coming. And it's, going to be all the more sad when it's like a Dak and Zeke last rodeo show at the end of the year when they're like losing to the Commanders the last game of the season. I don't even know if I haven't looked as far ahead, but that's probably how it's going to end.
Is it safe to say that the Cowboys?
I was even going to say.
And Randy,
let's
welcome in Randy real quick.
8 years of Dak and Zeke videos out there. I'm going to be crying sitting there, and it's all going to be done from there.
No, I mean that's
up,
the worst thing about Dak is he's essentially presence, right? Like he puts up numbers, he looks good. Postseason comes and he's like, Cabo seems nice. Like I don't.
I know.
I hate to say that. Go ahead, Rush. Is it safe to say that the Cowboys are looking at a QB in the next year's draft?
It's hard. I would suspect. Well, first off, Trey Lance, like the wild card here. What was the plan with him? Yeah. Because I feel like we really don't know. I mean, you guys are bigger college football people than I am, so I didn't get to see much of him, or I didn't watch.
We didn't either. His last year, he played one game, like literally one game. They put it on TV, and then that was it. So we weren't. And what was it? North Dakota Central State.
He went to North Dakota State. So
Yeah, so it's hard to know. No one really knows what we're working with. I mean, obviously the 49ers felt they could pass on him, but again, they had some pretty decent guys there around. So I don't know. Who knows, like the caliber for there. So I'm not really sure. That perplexed me so much, that move by Jerry Jones. And I honestly don't know what he's sitting on with it at this point.
It's like he just thought he could get something for free, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to shop and get this for free."
Yeah,
it's great. What are you going to do with it? I don't know, but it was cheap, so I don't get it.
I think it was like I feel like he was going to try and buy and flip him, maybe play him in a few preseason games, have him look pretty decent, but that last year I thought would have been the year that they did that, early on, just to kind of start building upon that. So I don't really know where they plan to go from that, but yeah, it's been a while since they've drafted a solid quarterback, not other than someone who they think will likely be a backup, very far deep in the draft. So I think it's a possibility. In terms of draft pack, I'd have to look. I'm not from, I'm looking ahead, not sure what the next year's draft will look like for quarterbacks in there and where they'll stand. But I don't know. They might go after someone in free agency if they're an option, presents, or try and get someone, because that's I feel like Jerry Jones' MO. Like he's not going to want them to be down for very long, here. I feel like he's going to shoot big from here. But again, cap wise, how do they do that? I don't know.
I think your problem would be, I don't think you'd be bad enough to draft a good quarterback.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you then. So you're coming into, so this season goes however it goes, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Dak's biggest cap hit next year, whether he's on the roster or not.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this season have to look like for Dak to remain on your roster and get his extension? What's he have to do? Because, I mean, It's been 3 12-5s.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like he's played horrible. He had arguably his best season last year, and they're still reluctant to give him that contract. So what do you need to see from him to?
Is that Bo? Okay. I always wait to see if it's me first.
I know.
What do you need to see from him?
I'm going to spread out a little bit. Man, I thought I was going to make it. I thought I was going to get one of these today where I didn't blank out at some point. Sorry, guys. But, so what do you need to see from him for them to actually move forward with him on that roster, as opposed to just take that Russell Wilson punch to the face and the cap hit?
Right. Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's a really unique scenario because, like we said, he was in MVP discussions through late of last season, which is crazy that we're then sitting here and turning around and being like, is he done? Is his time in Dallas done? Is it worth, taking this hit on him? So I think exactly to your point. It's very, very hard because he's put up big numbers. They've had decent records. I think at this point, though, it has to be a playoff win, a deep playoff win, not even just a playoff win, because they've had a few, not many, but I think it has to be a deep playoff push. But again, if that's what we're looking for as our measurement, are they putting the weapons around him for that this year?
Definitely not.
So they're kind of not really setting him up. They're not really setting him or Mike McCarthy up for any sort of extension from here, really, with the way that they've spent this offseason. So I wish I knew what Jerry Jones was thinking in the plan, but that's part of the reason this has been so frustrating this year to watch, because I have no idea what the overall goal is, what the overall plan. I would love to see them obviously come out and, I'm a huge Dak fan. I would love for him to come out and put up incredible numbers and for them to surprise everyone. But it's going to be hard. I mean, the teams in the division around them have only been building, and they've kind of taken steps back this year. So that's why I just don't know if I can see this working out, because no one's going to be satisfied unless the Cowboys are having, significant deep playoff runs here at this point.
I feel like Jerry Jones is just setting up for a scapegoat. Like, who am I going to blame when this all goes wrong? Yeah.
Right.
So that means, this is where the hater pops out a little bit. So this means, surely for entertainment value, is Dak is gone next year. Trey Lance is the guy because they got to pay everything to Dak still. I mean, that seems like the ultimate dumpster fire. Mike Zimmer's your coach.
Right. Yep.
That seems like it'll be awesome.
It would be pain. I don't even know what I would do. I honestly don't. It's giving me energy. It's very similar. I feel like we're falling into this Kirk Cousins pattern, and maybe we'll talk about him within the draft, but I feel like Dallas is a little bit ahead of the curve, and that we're we don't want to fall into this pattern of mediocrity that the Vikings have fallen into for so many years. Cause we know many years Kirk Cousins has been in the MVP discussions, even through recently, and they have nothing to show for it. And they're obviously not as big of a cap hell as we are, but it's pretty, so we don't really have anywhere else to go from here. But I feel like they're kind of a little bit trying to get ahead of that. Maybe we're looking at, like I said, I think it's 8 years instead of 10 years at this point. But yeah, I don't know. It's possible they keep him on. I mean, Dak stays 6 around another year and they really try and develop someone else that they can, I don't know, maybe it's Trey Lance, someone else, and they try and utilize him just to kind of help. I hate, oh my gosh. But yeah,
was the response?
It's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be. The division around us is only getting better, which has me nervous. Obviously the Eagles. I think the Commanders are going to be really good this year too as well. I know we're going to get to that, but the Giants are really only hope. I think we can continue to beat up on them, but that's pretty much it.
I mean,
I hope as long as Mr. U is not around.
That has to worry you, really. Coming out of this draft, I still think you're the second best team in the division, right? Because Washington, although they added pieces, they're not going to be that team first year one.
It's going to take time for them.
But at the same time, the Eagles really felt like they nailed their draft. They really filled holes that they needed. After their draft, you're like, okay, that team noticeably got better, right? The things that were shortcomings last year, they immediately plugged. Now, do they translate to the NFL? Who knows? We'll find out.
Right.
But on the Cowboys side, because of the needs that you had and the limitations in cap, it's like, okay, you guys did what you needed to do on the offensive and defensive line. Huge holes, had to do it. The problem is, what's Dak going to do with the ball? Like, he's back there. He's going to be like, all right, I have it. And I'd really like to give it to someone. I mean, it's, I don't know. I'm very curious to see how the tail end of this free agency period becomes to see what it is you guys have, because obviously there's still a lot of potential for this team, right? Dak, it's not like Dak's a scrub, right? Like he's very good. I don't think he can play hero ball, which is what he would have to do right now.
Right.
Like he's not that guy. He's not the Josh Allen type to be able to just carry his team where he has to be 90% of the scoring.
Right.
But at the same time, he is that Kirk Cousins guy where he can distribute the ball. He can put up a lot of yards. He can put up points. You got to give him something to work with, right?
Yeah. Well, we do have CeeDee Lamb, who is,
and I feel like that's about it at this point.
Yeah. We have CeeDee Lamb. I think they have some inspiring, Jalen Tolbert didn't get much playing time next year. I think he'll probably be wide receiver number 2 next year. He's pretty decent, but we'll have to see from there. But I think a big problem they're going to have this year too, obviously with Dak. Dak was so good first coming out of the league when he was mobile. He was, obviously he can throw, but when he has that, like he has that dual action threat sort of thing, his game elevates. And then we didn't see it for years after his injuries. And he was far more conservative, trying to be a pocket passer when he's really not. But the concern is obviously if he thinks the Cowboys might be moving on from him this next year, does he kind of preserve a little bit from an injury standpoint? And he's not willing to maybe go and push for those extra few yards, to get the first down. Like we saw it towards the end of last year. He was great on his feet, and it was opened up some big holes for them in key games, but just not the Packers game. But so that's, I think, going to be another problem. They might not be getting the most well-rounded version of Dak if there keeps being this question as to whether they're going to be moving on from him or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really completely justified, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I can't blame him.
If you can't get an extension, if you can't get an extension on a year where you're in the MVP conversation to the final week of the season, I mean, that sure looks like they're moving on.
Yes.
Right. So why put yourself on the line? Yep.
All right, let's get into you at least had one of the Raiders fan living in Georgia, but he wanted to take a second to talk about how bad the Falcons were. Bo, did you want to take that one first?
It just as they are as a franchise?
I think he's mostly talking about the draft. This is the last thing that they did badly. Unless you want to talk about their Super Bowl since the roast of Tom Brady just happened.
I mean, that's why I was a little confused exactly where they wanted to go with this. I mean, yes. So there's a couple of ways you can look at the Michael Penix thing.
And the Saints fan is obviously with you on that one too, by the way.
So the Penix thing is, just as a franchise, your entire life. So, I mean, I don't even know if I have to add anything to that. Just yes. You're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, if they haven't won a Super Bowl, right? So, I mean, I guess overall, just they've had their ups and downs. They've had their glory years. I remember the Dirty Bird years.
And
obviously
his entire life as a franchise. Yep.
Okay. And obviously they had the 28-3 Super Bowl and things didn't pan out their way. So, I mean, I guess so. To Bo's point, it's been rough.
So, well, Bo, we did want to give you a chance to talk about your Seahawks too, as well. Where you think they're headed after that? Please tell me we have a more positive outlook than I feel like we just buried the Cowboys. So let's talk about some positive.
Yeah, I'm happy to be moving on. I thought that was never going to end. Thank you.
I thought we were just going to keep rolling.
I think you were going for that, Bo.
Bo was having a good time over there.
I have some mixed emotions for my own team. There's some very real upside to what they did, right? So they bring in another defensive coach, which I don't mind.
I don't mind. Never sounds like good. It's just like, I mean, I guess I don't hate it,
Well, no. So, I mean, there's two schools of thought, right? So on the defensive side made a lot of sense because you have a unit that has been a bottom 5 defense in the league, right?
Right.
For the last 4 or 5 years. So do you want to move on from that? Sure. the other school of thought is you bring in an offensive coach because if they double as your offensive coordinator, you have continuity to whatever your quarterback is moving forward, right? You don't have to worry about systems changing when your offensive coordinator gets brought to a different team to be a head coach. So that being said, our offense was solid, right? So bringing in a defensive-minded coach to bring a defensive along makes total sense. He comes in, clears house on the defense. And a lot of Hawk fans were extraordinarily mad about it, right? We got rid of guys that were Pro Bowl players, all pros, right? You lose Bobby Wagner and Diggs. And I mean, you lose guys that are focal points of that defense. And that sounds great until you think of the fact that they were a bottom 5 unit the last 5 years in a row. So even though the names sound great and the stats sound okay, right? Like Bobby Wagner was one of the top tackling guys in the league, which is great. Unless the only guy tackling on your defense is Bobby Wagner. And then you're like, well, yeah, because everybody else got out of the way. I should hope someone made a tackle. So, all of those guys getting wiped out, I'm not mad at. They brought in a lot of guys on 1-year deals, which doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, right? Because if they do ball out, you don't know if you can keep any of them because they're all 1-year deals. So we'll see how that goes. Moving into the draft, that was really encouraging. They seem content with where the quarterback room is. So for them to go interior offensive line, defensive tackle, defensive edge, like those are all huge needs for the Seahawks, something that's been a real problem, especially over the last few years of not being able to stop the run, having a real trouble stopping anything through the middle of the field. So you look at this draft, they addressed those needs. They added some depth at corner, and it's also a guy that's incredibly fast, a shifty runner, and can fill in immediately with the new kickoff rule, which would be awesome because we're going to see a lot more returns. So now we have a good return man. So, I mean, I'm encouraged with where the Seahawks are headed. The Rams obviously got better this offseason, but the biggest thing is the Niners are still the better team in this division this year.
And they're going to fall off after a year.
They're not going to be. This is their last year to get it done because next year they got a lot of guys that have, I mean, they got contracts to pay. And they're not going to be able to do it. So the Niners are definitely going to start to slide. This is their window to get it done. And the Hawks are coming. I'm encouraged for where they're going. They still feel like a 9-win, maybe a wild card type of team, though.
Yeah. This is a great time for a debate. Let's bring in. I saw Mr. U out there. I posted this comment. So
shout out to Mr. U.
Shout out to you.
Yep. Shoot, they didn't even have any Giant slander, so you didn't even miss anything. So.
Well,
although he is going to be sad that he missed burying the Cowboys for 30 minutes. All right, so this is a chance for some positivity.
Except he's here, so now we can talk about the Giants.
He's going to get you back in the morning, though. Are you prepared for that? All right, each one of you is going to take a couple minutes to defend your team and say how they have the more positive outlook for the next 5 years, which is going to be tough off there. So, yes, there are nothing but positivity.
5 years?
Wow.
Flags up. I lost already.
Wow. That's just mean, man.
So we'll start with Bo, so we'll give Sarah a chance to collect her thoughts. So tell me how your team is going to be the better team out of the two of y'all. You don't have to beat everybody, Sarah. You just got to beat the Seahawks for the next 5 years.
Oh, well, I mean... To be fair, even when they were good, they haven't beat the Seahawks. I remember Romo fumbling a.
Wow.
Fired already.
To be fair, I was at that game. It was awesome. No, I would say on the next 5 years, it obviously favors the Seahawks. And the only reason I say that is this is a team that already has a jump start on their rebuild process. They brought in the new coach. They kind of have the identity of where it is they're trying to go. And comparatively, the Cowboys are in the last year before they blow it up. So for the next 5 years, I feel like that is a unfair battle because you're talking about a team that has already started their upswing, so to speak, against a team that is getting ready to tear it apart.
Come on, Sarah. Come with it. Don't let them win like this.
So are we talking head-to-head matchup, or like who's actually going to have a better season record?
Who's going to be better for the next 5 years? So like, if let's say you had to play.
Yeah, overall record. That's why I was like, I mean, that's not apples to apples there.
Yeah.
We don't do apples to apples. We're not a fair
what we have
company.
going for us, I think that over the course of the next 5 years, I think probably the NFC West is going to be an overall better division from top to bottom speaking. Therefore, it's going to be harder for the Seahawks to obviously scrape out some wins playing their division twice per year. So I think the Cowboys, we can pencil in, obviously we all know our record against the Giants here in the past 2 years. I think we can pencil those
Mr.
wins in.
Go
Always good to split with the Commanders, from there. And I think even as they build, I think that's still the case. And, we can catch Philly in a game or two. So I think if we're speaking from division, this is obviously my cop out here. I'll get to some real thoughts there. But I think overall, Cowboys probably have a better chance if you're going to calculate wins, losses over the next course of the 5 years, just because of the sake of the divisions and how many games they play against interdivisional teams. I think the Cowboys would have a better record over that time. I just spent all this time talking about I have no idea what Jerry Jones is trying to do with the team. So it's hard for me to predict their 5 year plan from here. But if things all go to plan how I would want the plan to be, and that is that Dak comes out and leads them to an NFC title this year, maybe takes them to the Super Bowl, then I think they stick with him and they can build, around that, build up and around that. And have to make him their focal point and then start low and, cheap from go up from there. So I think overall, I know we're saying the Cowboys, might throw it all in from here, but they're just not a franchise that's ever going to be really bad. I don't see that. Like, I think their mediocrity, just because, again, whether it's playing at the NFC East or just their history, they still have CeeDee Lamb, they still have Micah Parsons, theoretically speaking, who are, strong, almost generational type talents at each of their positions from there. So I don't see them ever being a sub 500 team in any of the seasons in the next 5 years, which I think Seattle may be.
I mean,
no specific reason other than it's the Seahawks.
Their best chance to be
nice little debate
this year.
Raj?
I said this was a nice little debate.
Are you happy being on this side of the debate instead of the other side of the debate?
Yes. Usually I always lose to Herb for obvious reasons. So Herb is a bias. Oh, no, I'm not going to get into that. But Herb's very, very biased. So I usually lose against Herb. But no, it's a good debate. Some good points are gone.
No, I mean, I definitely think that's true for this coming year. The Hawks definitely have a shot at being a sub 500 team with so many new pieces. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Raj, you wanna vote first on it?
I'm gonna, with all due respect, sir, I'm gonna have to go with Bo. And the simple fact is because you said 5 years. If you're saying 2 to 3 years, I'm staying with the Cowboys. And Sarah, just a small note. I live in Arlington. I married into a Cowboys family. Dolphins first, Cowboys come second. I've been to several Cowboys games. Live 15 minutes from the stadium. So I want the Cowboys to succeed. But in this specific debate here, I'm going to go with Bo because I think long term, the Seahawks have a chance to kind of outride the 49ers in that division. 4 or 5 years from now, Dak's not going to be I don't think Dak's going to be in Dallas. I don't know who the quarterback is, which is why I posed the question earlier. Are they going to try to chase somebody in the draft, a QB in the draft next year? And of course, it depends on how they do this season, where the draft selection is. Obviously, somebody like Deion Sanders would love if Shedeur would just go to Dallas or magically or something like that.
Can we
I don't know if anything like
that happen?
Yeah, I had to throw that in.
Can we also get Deion to coach?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Do this.
I don't think we're ready for that.
The world is not ready.
Jerry, I don't think Jerry's ready for that.
No.
But for the debate, I'm going to lean towards Bo on this one.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with Sarah. She picked Dallas. She used the word generational talent. She had me at that one. And I just feel like as much crap as we give Jerry Jones, he always figures out a way. He's a good evaluator. If he could just get the talent out there and then move out of the way, I think they'd be fine. So
if he could draft and then go to Mars for the rest of the year,
yes,
you're rad.
Yeah, I was gonna say we do have on our side. They draft very well, obviously historically. So especially if they're not winning the division or at the top tier and they have more opportunity in the drafts to come, then I think 5 years they could turn it around pretty quickly in that time.
Well, we'll find a third person to break the tie, maybe in the comment section. Raj. Yeah, we'll find a third person to break the tie.
You mean you don't have a special
What's
guest
up,
judge
everybody?
That you have every
Thank
time?
y'all again for listening to the Herb and Raj podcast. It's your boy, Brett, back to judge another debate. unlike the last time I was here, these two actually know what they talking about. Bo, Sarah, y'all did your thing, man. That was a great debate. But I had to put all y'all's the arguments and factors into my complicated system, and then unfortunately I had to deduct a point if you had a stream running through your backyard. And man, that 1 point was a difference. Sarah, you are winner tonight, man. You did your thing. Great debate. Bo, man, I know it ain't always fair, man, but you know what they say. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening to the Herb and Raj podcast. We appreciate you all. Please like and subscribe. Another great debate. Until next time, Brett out.
Well, independent third party judge. Sorry, Bo.
That's amazing.
Bo and Sarah, I apologize. I'm definitely going to call my mom after this and figure
Here's your
this out.
score.
That's Sarah Connor? Oh, my God.
I love it.
Oh, my
I
God.
feel like I got the pity win there, but it's okay.
But it could be worse, though, if you want to know how the
Oh,
regular
my
show
goodness.
goes.
Oh,
I'm
that's
calling
great.
mom later.
It's usually pretty bad. So
that is fantastic.
Wow. Wow. There's no way we're brothers. There's no way we're brothers.
it's just a fair debate out there. So let's see. We did talk about Mr. U was out there. He did say what's up. Kat was trying to warn y'all about the debates. They're never very good. So, and yeah, they talked about this. Jerry Jones, yeah, he's
No,
great.
The worst thing about Jerry Jones is he's so good drafting, right? Like as soon as the draft is done, you're like, all right, like they did smart things. This is crazy. Okay, maybe he's not a horrible GM. And then you remember it's Jerry Jones and the season starts and you're like, oh, except he meddles in everything.
Mhm.
Like if he could just do the draft and then go on vacation, that team could be really good. But for whatever reason, he just seems to find a way to disrupt the flow of a team.
Yep. No, exactly.
All right. So getting into the draft, and I'm gonna make sure there's no more Cowboy slander going on the show. You are safe for the rest of the show.
No, that was slander. It was facts.
Oh, wow.
Outside of the Falcons move, was there any other? What were the other shocking moves or surprising moves? I guess draft wise, or just like what kind of stood out from you the draft and outside of y'all's teams, who you think got in really better, or who just really missed an opportunity? And even Raj, if you want to start there too. Are you upset with your Dolphins? I know you didn't like their first pick.
I'm not upset with the Dolphins. I gave them a B- as an overall draft grade. We did assess some of the positions that we needed to assess, but you know where I'm going with this. I'm obviously, me being a biased Alabama fan, I wanted Terrion Arnold or even Kool-Aid at the DB at a quarterback position, but that didn't happen. We ended up going with Chop Robinson. Do we need an edge? Yeah. Obviously, we let go of Christian Wilkins and a couple other people. I wanted Terrion Arnold. I really wanted somebody younger as far as the cornerback position is concerned, but I'm okay with it. We got another offensive tackle. I was confused about the Jalen Wright, the running back from Tennessee. I mean, we have Raheem Mostert, who led the league in touchdowns last year. We got Jeff Wilson. Got Devin Achane from Texas A&M. I thought we were pretty loaded as far as the running back position, but we got Jalen Wright, the running back from Tennessee, in the 4th round. I thought we could have gone somewhere else with that. But other than that, I gave the Dolphins a B-. I'm okay with it. My hopes for the Dolphins next year are to win the AFC East and get a home field advantage game in the 1st round instead of going to somewhere like Kansas City in December or January where it's freezing and we're going to lose. So, and then we have to play on Peacock again. Yeah, I was not a fan of that. We really need to win our division this year. The window, I feel like that window gets smaller and smaller each year. I don't know
That was
how
the
long
league trying to protect you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that really worked.
Like he's not going to watch.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm okay. B-. I think the Dolphins will be all right for next year.
That's fair. How do you feel? I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but Tua, like there were some questions actually, coming off of this season in terms of people, whether he is the fit, for Miami and should they be building around him, which I mean, I think he's been well worthy of that. So I'm not really sure where all those, questioning is coming in, but I've definitely seen it. So what are your thoughts on him? Like, how do you see things playing out with him for the long term? Is he your quarterback of the future, or do you give him a couple more years?
I think he is the quarterback for the future, and I think last year was the year that he proved that. He stayed healthy pretty much the whole year, led the league in passing yards last year. And I think even though he lost a little weight this offseason, so that's going to help out with his mobility because he really didn't see a lot of that last season. He kind of stayed in the pocket and basically just looked for Tyreek to go down the field and throw it to Tyreek. But I think they're trying to build around him. And I understand we just got OBJ, and just my opinion on that right quick, we don't need Odell. Odell's best years are behind him.
Don't unpack.
You knew what my question was.
I mean, we got
Tyreek
Hill, Waddle. Then we'll try to get Odell the ball as much as we can. But to answer your question, Sarah, I do think Tua is the quarterback for the future.
So
they just
rude.
have to protect him. We got an offensive tackle in the second round from Houston, Patrick Paul. He's going to help out up front. So if we can protect Tua, I think things will be okay. We got the running back position filled. We got the receivers. We obviously proved it last year. Offensively, we're fine. It's just defensively and getting to the other team's quarterback is our main problem.
So that was actually where my question was going to go. I was going to bring up OBJ, but not because of OBJ. It had to do with you added a guy on the roster that is not necessary. Right. And there are a lot of things on defense that you need. So it just seemed like a weird acquisition. Like you're just like, hey, you know what? The offense is really good. Our defense is kind of suspect in a lot of spots. You know what we need is a receiver.
And keep in mind, we drafted 2 receivers too. We drafted 2 receivers and a running back. I don't think we needed any of those. I would have been strictly fine with defense all across the board. But hey, that's why, I don't get paid the big bucks to make those decisions yet. So it is what it is. But
I'm glad they didn't cut to a shot of you in the draft. That's why.
OBJ's
I know.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind even more linebackers or somebody as far as the cornerback position is concerned. But hey, we did what we did. So let's see what happens this upcoming season.
Yeah. The way I found out that they got OBJ is I looked down and there's a text from Roger that says we don't need OBJ. That was the first. I was like, dang. I think
I got like the Bleacher Report notification, and I was like, why? What was the whole point? It's like 1 year. I don't even know how much. Maybe $3 million. I was like, what was the whole point of that? I mean, I don't even know how often he's going to get the ball. So I didn't understand it.
No, when I saw it, I had to double check where the feed was from because I was like, oh, this is probably like from the Memery or something, right? I'm just like, okay, this is from like some sort of football joke site, and I'm like, oh no, that was Schefter. they actually did that. Why?
And my problem with that is I didn't think Waddle was getting the ball enough last season because Tyreek does get the ball so much, and I understand that. So I'm like, so now are we kind of pushing Waddle to the side even more? We don't need to do that. We don't need to let him go. He's a obviously hell of a receiver. He's got the speed. He's twitchy. He can do everything we need him to do. So I don't know why we're bringing another personality in here. Of course, with that being said, I hope OBJ has a phenomenal year, and I hope he helps us, in the playoffs, et cetera. But I don't think
he's just a splash player, though, right? Like he's not a consistent target. He's, realistically, he is years removed from being truly effective. He averages, 400 yards a year, right? Yeah. So, I mean, he's good for half a dozen flashy catches for the season. Like, it just seems like a waste of money for the offense that you already have.
And he's like a diva. Like he's going to want the ball. It's not like you're getting some like veteran receiver who's comfortable kind of just coming out there for the big plays or maybe teaching up the young guys. Like, he's going to want the ball. So that's just adding like extra pressure on the offense in a negative manner. That's been flowing so well, so it really makes no sense from obviously a needs standpoint, but then also like a sideline personnel sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like the
I
most
agree. I wish I could argue with you
ever.
I know. I'm just being honest. I mean, exactly what Sarah said. I don't want him putting any of that extra pressure on Tua. Like if OBJ's open and he doesn't get the ball, they're going, come on, pass me the ball. We don't need that, bro. I mean, if you're open and you just don't get the ball, you just don't get the ball. It's as simple as that.
Oh, he got $8 million. That you definitely could have got some defensive help for
that. I did not get a Wells Fargo notification about that.
Overdraft
Oh, my
protection.
God.
Here we come.
Yes. Oh, Lord.
Man, yeah.
That could have gone so many other places.
That was a bizarre move. That was a bizarre move.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard from both of these guys about this team. So, Sarah, I'll start with you about it. Of course, Raj, being a Dolphins fan, do you still feel like Buffalo is a threat to them? And then the secondary part of that is how you feel about the Jets in that division too. Or would the Dolphins be your pick to still come out of the division? I say still. They didn't last year because they kind of. I mean, never mind.
Okay, Herb, you got your question across. Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there, Ron.
It's hard because one of my co-podcast hosts, Mike, on the Heating Up podcast around, is a huge Bills fan. So I'm like getting Bills propaganda all the time. Like we don't go an episode without talking about Josh Allen, at least maybe 3 to 5 times, even when we're covering NBA playoffs. And so there's Josh Allen in there. So it's hard for me not to, kind of still believe in the Bills a little bit, but their offseason, they unloaded big time, going to like early free agency. And it's kind of been quiet since then. But they had a huge unloading. Obviously, the departure of Stephon Diggs. Everyone's kind of wondering, where is Josh Allen taking the ball? Draft-wise, didn't go super deep into it, but it doesn't look like they did anything shocking from there where I can see like, oh, this is, kind of be the fix for this this year. So I think they're in a little bit of an awkward, not as bad as the position of the Cowboys, but somewhat similar, right? Like obviously Josh Allen.
The Bills?
The Bills.
Keon Coleman.
The Bills.
Well, the shocking thing that they did was trade with the Chiefs.
Yes, that I did have that one.
Like,
I don't understand that one. Bills fans have to be mad about that because why are they setting up the Chiefs in that way? I don't understand. But I think they're in a somewhat less bad situation than Cowboys in that they have this, quarterback who obviously Josh Allen is a top tier, quarterback. They want him to be the face of the franchise, but they're in an awkward limbo. Like, did their Super Bowl window pass last year, in the past year or two? Coaching is being in question a little bit with McDermott. They have, they're unloading. They're trying to build around him. They're in a question mark area. I think they still have the talent there and they have more talent. So I think they'll still be definitely fighting with the Dolphins there. But Mike, I'm sorry for listening to this, but I do think that the Dolphins will probably take the Bills easily. And I think the Jets, it's so hard to say, right? We saw nothing of Aaron Rodgers in the past year. So it's like the recency bias is that they are pathetic. And so it's really hard to kind of turn your brain and wrap around seeing the Jets, turn into this, team that's able to compete with the Bills and the Dolphins, who the Dolphins are going to have another explosive offense. I think the Bills, if they can find a reliable receiver, for Josh Allen and keep up with how their run game finished last year, their offense is pretty solid as well. So I think the Jets will probably finish third to them, with the Patriots being well below all 3 of those teams. Like that might be the biggest discrepancy, honestly, in there in terms of the rest of the division. But I think you might have it in the bag this year, Raj.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way. The Bills, to Sarah's point, they offloaded a lot of pieces. You are already, even when they had the pieces, you were expecting Josh Allen to play hero ball all year. They were wildly inconsistent, especially from the defensive production. You let go of a bunch of pieces. You didn't really add anything of note. I have to go with the Dolphins have the best shot to win this division. The Jets are that wild card. You have no idea what they're going to be. You don't know what, they have pieces. They have a great defense. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be okay? Right? Like you don't think he's going to be one of those MVP years, but you hope that he's not his last year in Green Bay either. Right? He needs to be somewhere in the middle for that to be even viewed as a kind of successful season. You got to do something with it. Getting Aaron Rodgers was we're trying to win this whole thing now, right? So anything less than the championship game has to be a disappointment. So, I don't put a lot of trust in him. I mean, I've made this analogy before with other players is, now he's been out for over a year and I can't recall getting better at anything I haven't done for a long time, right? Yep. Like you just don't get better by not doing it. So I can't imagine that he's going to come back from this injury and be crisp and on time and all of that. Will he be better than Zach Wilson? Sure. But I feel like everybody on this panel could probably be better than
even Herb is better than Zach Wilson.
Even Herb, huh? So I got low on the total. But I look around and I'm clearly 4th on this panel. So I'm like, I can't even argue with that.
Raj over here launching daggers.
Well, I can't hang with any of y'all, so I can take that. That's fine. So, I did want to give a couple of comments to because we do mostly college football in here, so I did want to give some of the people's their NFL teams. So I know Randy had one about his Raider season, and he wants Carson Beck. A lot of people didn't actually like them drafting Brock Bowers, I guess because they drafted a tight end the year before. My problem with the Raiders,
they already had 3 tight ends. That's why people didn't love it.
Yeah,
which I hate because he's one of our unofficial kind of favorite players here, even though he was a Georgia Bulldog, and then he went to not the best situation. I just don't know that the Raiders will be bad enough next year to draft high for a quarterback. It just feels like they'll be a middling team and picking 8, 9, or 10 somewhere around there again. But I don't know, you guys know more.
Are the Raiders going to be so bad that they're running a quad tight end set because their line is terrible and they the block?
Yeah. I mean, they have Gardner Minshew. I feel like that's always a little. They have someone reliable at quarterback if needed. Because I think it's still question marks at this point. Is it O'Connell? I think Minshew honestly wins out in that if they were to have a quarterback challenge, which he can bring. We saw what he did with the Colts last year, and kept him in it through injury there. But they're a tough division for them to really do anything. For the next few years, unfortunately.
Yeah. I feel like Gardner Minshew is that guy that you don't want starting the year, but once somebody gets hurt and he comes in at game 3 or 4, that's when his best is.
That's
if he has to start game 1,
he'll start a few games, right?
Yeah, that's what I like. It seems like that's what happens every year.
It's exactly why I always compare him to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's fun to watch. He's dynamic. He can make plays, but he's probably not your dude either. Right?
He's not your dude, but it seems like everybody on the team likes him, so they're they're okay with it. They'll roll with it.
Yeah, which is important too. Yeah.
Yeah, they rally around him for sure.
Randy, of course,
just like, you're our guy. Hell yeah, let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I was saying more about the fit, Randy, not the player. I love Brock Bowers. I just don't know that you continually throw draft capital at tight ends when you have so many other needs and nobody to get him the ball either. So I think that's going to be a problem. So, all right, real quick before we get into the questions of death, we'll go around real quick and let everybody right now, super early, who your picks for each division are going into next year. If you had gun to your head, if you had to choose right now, Rod, you want to start with you, or do you want to go?
So each division, or are you talking about Super Bowl, or how do you want to do it?
Just each division. We won't let you go. We won't make you go too far just yet. Just start with your divisions.
I mean, AFC East, of course, I'm picking. Miami,
Buffalo. Oh, okay. I wasn't listening earlier. I didn't. I just wasn't sure.
It's messed up.
Brotherly love, man. Brotherly love.
Well, let me pull up the other ones. Hold on one second. Give me a second here.
I'll tell you what you're going to end up with: Miami, Baltimore, Houston,
Houston, and Kansas City.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. NFC East. NFC East. Hi, Sarah. I'm going to go with Philly. I'm going to go with Philly.
That's okay. I'll take it.
Okay.
You already voted against me in the debate. That's fine.
NFC North, I'm going to go with Detroit. I really think the Detroit Lions have a good chance to make it to the Super Bowl. Them getting Terrion Arnold was huge. Pairing him with Brian Branch. I mean, the offense is loaded. Defense is going to be loaded. I think the Lions are going to make it to the Super Bowl. NFC South. I don't know. I mean, does Kirk Cousins get the job done? I don't know. I'm gonna just take a guess here and say that Kirk Cousins has a pretty good season, and maybe the Falcons win the division. But it could be the Bucs or the Saints, not the Panthers. Of course, we want Bryce Young to have a good season, but it's going to take time for that to happen. They got to get an offensive.
We just don't want him to get killed. That's a good season.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't get. Bryce is so small. He's like 5'10", 180 or something like that. So they just don't have a chance. So I'll just lean.
The Saints fan is not happy.
Raj, does that?
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize, Kat. And in the AFC West, I'm just going to go with the.
Bo had a question for you, Raj.
I got a question for you on the South. Do you think that division is one with a losing record this year? Because I feel like it could be.
Yeah. Panther, I know the Panthers are going to have a losing record. Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of leaning that way.
My guess as of right now. So,
Bo, you got any major differences, or who you've got for your division?
No, I'm kind of rocking with that the whole way. When you were talking about surprises a few minutes ago, I was going to go with the Vikings, right? Because they go and get JJ McCarthy, which on its face sounds all right, except they gave up a bunch of picks to move up one spot for a position that they didn't need to move for. And then in the third round, they give up more picks to move up and grab a guy. So they basically got rid of their entire draft for 2 picks.
Didn't they do that again though in the first round also?
No, that's what I'm saying is the two guys that they got, right? They ended up with 3 total picks, but they gave up 5 picks to get those 3 picks.
Right.
So like they just did some very bizarre stuff. So that was my surprise. But it's still going to be a team. That division is going to be very fun to watch because the Bears should be better.
Right.
But it's the Bears. So I'm sure that somehow they're going to be terrible. But the Lions, I think, can get it. Green Bay, I like what they were able to do towards the end of the season. And then the Vikings, despite the fact that they handled this offseason kind of bizarrely, they were in the mix with the hodgepodge of quarterbacks that they had all season, right? So it's not like it's a bad team. And that defense got better as the year went. So that division is probably going to be one of the most dynamic to watch this whole season.
Yeah.
Randy is not convinced.
I mean,
I think Caleb Williams is going to run into the same problems that Justin Fields has been running into the past few years. It's just going to take time. They got to build up that offensive line.
Yeah.
I agree, but at least he has some weapons that
He's
you
a
know,
better starting weapons. He's
Right,
a little
so-
bit
yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
Fields.
yeah. So as he's falling to the ground, he might.
Throw off to somebody.
He might have someone there.
Yeah.
All
Rome.
right, Sarah, what you got?
I think AFC pretty much the same across the board. NFC, I don't know if I can even bring myself to say anyone other than the Cowboys, but it's not going to be the Cowboys winning the NFC. So we'll just leave it at that.
Oh,
I do think that NFC North, I was going to say the same exact thing that Bo just said. I think that's going to be a very fun, exciting division of football to watch. I think I have a little recency bias in that I actually think the Packers are going to be really good. But I also want to root for the Lions. So I think that's just going to be a lot of fun. You know, I think both of those teams are going to make pretty, deep playoff pushes until maybe they face off against each other. But I think they'll both be there. And then even Bears and Vikings, like you said, have potential to be good. I think the NFC South, I'm probably going to go with the Buccaneers. I feel like I like what Baker Mayfield did last year. And they have like...
Whoa, Sarah, you can't say Baker Mayfield around Bo. That's that's a very...
Is you still in the
in the chat?
I don't think so. He hasn't commented lately, so I think he left.
Oh, I got you.
He's
No,
not.
so it's funny. Like, I don't have a hatred for Baker Mayfield. What my issue is with him is he's so inconsistent.
He is.
Is
But
you
he
just
was
never
able to
know
be a
what
little
you're
bit more consistent last year. Like they were
Yeah.
slowly
He had a good
building
year last
with
year.
the Bucks last year. And I feel like they had a good energy going. But again, I think that division, I mean, what were they last year? The top 2 teams were, I think, 9 and 8. So they definitely have potential to all be below 500 this year as well. So I think it's going to be the same thing with the Panthers at the bottom. Just whoever, pulls out a close win at the end wins out of those other 3 teams, ends up taking that division. And then I think the 49ers probably walk it down. So kind of chalky like everyone else. But I think, again, probably NFC North will be the most fun to watch for all of us to watch this year.
He said,
Oh, yeah.
And they're
NFC West. I do have the Niners taking our division.
Yeah, for the last year, for a while.
Yeah.
All right, Rod, you want to ask your question first?
Sure. Sarah, I'm going to start off pretty smooth. Here on the Herb and Raj podcast, we play a game called Work, Play, Live. Not sure if you heard of it. I'm going to give you 3 names. You got to tell me one person you would rather work with, one person you would have be your neighbor, and the third person is someone you would hang out with the weekend, someone you would play with, hang out with.
Okay.
Out of these 3 names, Work, Play, Live. Bo, Herb, or Rod?
Oh my God.
Okay.
This is on the spot.
Wow,
This is
Okay.
on the spot, and we are all paying attention.
man, y'all are playing dirty. There's
Oh,
even tape.
Bo, yours
I'm gonna
is
live
about
with
to get
Herb.
worse, Bo.
I'm
I have
living
no
with
doubt
Herb.
in my mind mine's worse.
I'm living with Herb because he sided with me on the Cowboys, so he can at least be civil with me during
Oh
watching
my
games.
God. Okay.
I think that Bo, I might have to say work with you because I think we could go at it debating over your Cowboys slander, and I feel like we need to be a work environment where it is tame and we don't have the opportunity to get heated at that. And then Raj will hang out.
Cool.
Wow.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right.
Justified.
So, Bo, yours has a little twist on it. Work, play, live.
Okay.
Raj added this one, ditch. So they said work with somebody 40 hours, play, you go hang out on Friday night, live, they're your next door neighbor, you see them all the time. Ditch, when they call you for the Friday night call, you hang up.
Ignore them.
Damn.
All right. So you ready? So you get Herb, Raj,
Oh my God.
Mr. U, and Sarah.
Ooh. Bo, you better not ditch me.
I
see
feel
that?
like
That's pretty up. I don't know if this is a family-friendly show or not. I figured I'd mute myself there for a second. Oh, man.
Thank y'all for coming on the show, too, by the way. We really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, clearly I'm ditching Herb for this bullshit question. You straight earned that one.
Oh, I'm hurt. All right, show's over. Appreciate everybody.
No, you're driving that bus.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'd work with Sarah for sure. I think that would be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Next door neighbor. Go with you as my neighbor, right? Because I'm relatively sure I'd get my mower back after I loan it to him, and then I guess play.
So everybody's hanging out with Raj.
Yeah, everybody's hanging out with.
Okay, but he's
that
got
means nobody
twins.
takes
So
me
you guys are
seriously.
you guys are gonna be in at 9. Okay.
So you probably could have hung out, but you came out with this ditch option. Naturally, you're going.
Oh my god! All right, Raj, number 2 for you.
All right, Sarah. One more question. So, considering the Cowboys status right now, if you could grab any 3 current NFL players and put them on the Cowboys this upcoming season and lead them to a Super Bowl victory, which 3 players would you pick?
Trent Williams. Interesting take.
Okay.
I feel like we need him. I mean, I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mind, but 3 players, NFL roster. This is hard to think are big areas of need. There's so many of them. I don't know if I'm going to go with a running back. Let me think on that one, because is it cheating to say Patrick Mahomes? Like, I feel like everyone would say that for a quarterback.
No, I mean, these are your picks.
I mean,
You're going to push Zach out the way.
I have 0 rules.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes, Trent Williams.
Trent Williams, Patrick Mahomes. Who's number 3?
I don't even know. Let's see. I'm torn between if there's like a running back that's worthy. Christian McCaffrey. I think that would be a worthy choice to elevate our run game so we can get CD to passing, but go passing game with CD and then elevate the running game. That's my 3.
Okay.
All right, Bo, this one will be much easier. Okay? Much easier. All right. You have to take Michael Penix out of the Falcons situation. Okay?
Okay.
And you put him on any team in the league that you want. With the caveat, he has to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years on this team, or he's out of the league for the rest of his career, which will be like 33 by that point anyway, so it might be over.
Okay. So,
and he has to take over as quarterback on this team, though. So they have to win with Penix in 3 years.
yeah, I'd throw him on the Eagles. They have good weapons. They got better at defense.
They got the weapons.
He throws a really nice ball. The offensive line has gotten to the spot where he doesn't have to be a runner, which he's not.
Right.
Right?
He can hand it off to Barkley.
Exactly. I think he could legitimately win if he was plugged into that Eagles team the way it's currently constructed. I think he could legitimately do that. And but to answer your other question, the guys I would have grabbed Roger Goodell. I would grab Gene Steratore because I would win every challenge.
Wow.
That's true. Last time I checked, they weren't active players on the roster,
Yeah.
though. So.
I don't know. They manipulate a lot of games. I feel like they're a player.
True.
And by the way, Randy's answer is always Batman. That's what gets you a good
Batman.
winner. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
I like
All right, tell everybody where to find you guys, what you got going on. Bo, you go first.
Okay. Yeah. So you can find me on my YouTube channel at Football-Talk, on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo. And of course, you can see us in a few hours on Roku TV for the Wednesday wrap up.
Sarah?
Well, you cannot find me anywhere in a few hours because I will be sleeping. It's past my bedtime right now. But you can find the podcast that I'm co-host of, the Heating Up Podcast. We are on YouTube, all podcast platforms, Instagram, Twitter at the Heating Up Podcast.
Sounds good. And this was a good comment to end on. So I like this one. We just hold on to that one. So
yeah,
we appreciate you listening in there, Randy. Even if you're not a big NFL guy, we appreciate you hanging with us tonight. So, all right, great job tonight. Appreciate you both coming on, Raj. You know,
definitely.
Lakers.
No, I appreciate everybody being here because based on the consensus, we all picked the Dolphins to win the AFC East next year. So I appreciate that.
That's out of all of us here, I think.
That's the only part of the show you caught.
It's still early.
Yes. We'll see what
Thanks,
happens.
Eco Squad. So good to see you guys.
Eco
All right,
Squad.
everybody. Appreciate y'all listening to Herb and Raj podcast. I hope everyone has a wonderful night, great week, and I guess I should get the thing actually ready. Have a wonderful night, and everybody. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.